Father David here. It's Sunday, the Sunday of the Palms, remembering Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, Sunday of the Passion, remembering his excruciating death on the cross. And today's sermon is entitled, The Sword and the Cross. In what way is God challenging us today? What values or habits or beliefs, as the English say, are in the dock, on trial, especially today, on this high holy day of both celebration and unimaginable suffering? The long reading in today's gospel contains the answer, and it's an answer that we frequently neglect. It's an answer that we even more frequently reject. It was there about halfway through in the encounter between Jesus and the soldiers who came to arrest him. And it's easy to hear, but it's hard to actually listen to. It's there when one of Jesus' followers, according to Luke, pulls out his sword and cuts off the ear of the high priest's slave. We later learn that that person was Peter. And in that moment, there it is, that fundamental, unchangeable, irrevocable choice that our faith puts before us each and every day, demanding an answer from you and from me. What path shall we walk in this life? The path of the sword or the path of the cross? One of the most common objections to living an authentically Christian life in our real world is that such a life is simply not possible. Of course, we have to build up our military and pad our bank accounts and look out for those who are nearest and dearest to us. We exchange the death that Jesus invites us into for a sort of gentle moral code, one that sits well with contemporary ethics. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke about this as a sort of Boy Scout Christianity. Don't lie, cheat, or steal. Walk old ladies across the street and be polite and earn some merit badges. It's the kind of Christianity that Vice President J.D. Vance touted when he misused St. Augustine's model for love. The Veep falsely claimed that Christian love primarily belongs to those closest to us and only radiates outward to others beyond our inner circle if it's convenient, if we have the time. In fact, St. Augustine never taught that. Rather, Augustine understood that that kind of love that Vance was expounding was the love practiced by the non-Christians of Augustine's day, to use the vernacular at the time, pagans. It's the normal, human, common sense kind of love. But Christian love calls us to love everyone deeply, from the nearest and dearest to those on the very most outer rims of the earth, because every person is made in the image and likeness of God, because every person contains within themselves the spark of the divine, because every person is a member of the body of Christ. Christian love causes us to lay down our life rather than kill someone. Christian love causes us to trust not in the market economy, but in God. And Christian love reminds us that if we really want to live, then first we have to learn how to die. Sometimes a physical death, yes, but far more often we need to learn how to die to our beloved egos, to self-satisfaction and judgment of others, to the need to control people, places, and things. Because unless we die, we will never truly encounter the life that really is life. During the first 300 years of the church, the vast majority of Christians were faithful to this upside-down way of living, and therefore many families were broken apart because those who became Christian refused to bow down to the Roman emperor, refused to serve in the Roman army, refused to acknowledge the idols of wealth, power, and celebrity. And indeed, many were murdered, martyred. And the fruit that grew from that blood include the first hospitals, serving particularly the marginalized and the poor. In those early days, if you wanted to be baptized, you spent 3 years in preparation. And if you were a soldier, you quit being a soldier. If you were an actor, you quit being an actor. And if you were rich, you shared what you had, generously and abundantly and willingly. All of this because of that one fateful evening in the garden, the night Jesus was arrested, as sword and cross created that fork in the road. Peter, if just for a moment, chose the sword, but Jesus chose the way of the cross, inviting all who call him Master and Lord to make the same choice. Once Christianity became a part of Constantine's empire, the sword and the cross were no longer different roads to take. Tragically, they began to travel together, leading to the conquest of indigenous people, the destruction of native cultures, the upending of subsistence economies that allowed human beings to exist on this earth for hundreds of thousands of years, all of which has taken us to a place where today, as our globe trembles on the edge of climate catastrophe, the uber-rich continue to accumulate wealth and power at the expense of everyone else, and power and greed now wear the mask of Christ in too many circles as Christian nationalism rears its ugly head, claiming that might makes right. What is God calling us to this Sunday of the Palms, this Sunday of the Passion? Perhaps now more than any time in a long time, we are called to reclaim who we are and what it means to actually be followers of Christ. International aid in 2 short months is now nearly eliminated, leaving millions of our most needy sisters and brothers alone to starve, to succumb to disease, and to otherwise retreat into a life that is quickly becoming a chamber of horrors. Does our faith call us to speak up against such atrocity? As minorities and migrants are being attacked and deported and demonized, what does it mean to be a follower of the one who says, "Put away your sword, take up the cross"? This Sunday of the Palms, this Sunday of the Passion, is a stark reminder that Jesus calls us into a manner of life that is totally at odds with the so-called common sense of the world, as we once again stand at that fork in the road, the way of the sword, the way of the cross. Which shall we choose? God bless you all.